Welcome to the Compromise to Alchemize podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Neil Bolton-Donnie. I'm excited as you join me in this journey to listen to my conversations with some of the leading experts in the field of healing from a broad range of disciplines. Hello, today I've got a phenomenal discussion with Tricia Rogers, and I'm excited to preface it by saying she's definitely a delightful communicator and also just full of wisdom. So I think you're all going to enjoy this. Um, she is a speech language therapist, speech language pathologist, yes, and has been doing that for decades, and I think close to 30 years. And then specifically for like the last 20 years, she's been focusing on disorders with orofacial myology, orofacial myofunctional therapy is what she's been doing, working pretty much with kids. Um, and of course, in this conversation, we talk some about that, and inevitably it's going to become what she talks about when she talks about her books, the Miss Tongue and Friends books that she's written. She's written 4 of them. Other ones are in the works, and they're amazing. That's what provoked me to reach out to her, and just was really inspired by her creativity. That's why I decided to ask her if she'd be up for more delving into the creative process, not just with writing, but the art of making something. And of course, in the Compromise to Alchemize podcast, we're talking about turning lead into gold, non-linear healing, and how it often takes, well, I say a village, but it also takes stories, and it takes fun and joy, and sometimes it takes messiness. So, definitely Tricia gets into that, and really excited for y'all to take in her wisdom. I share a little bit about my creative process in the floor of the mouth work that I'm teaching, but also the book that I'm in the process of writing on the topic. And I'll talk a little bit about my history in dance. And also, I'm excited to be dialoguing with more in the creative space. Not that I haven't had creatives on. I have, in fact, so many people are, but I'm taking more time to draw out those characteristics because I think it's a missing link, or it is such a vital part of how we can heal, is to tap into these creative processes and these works of art. So enjoy, and let us know how you enjoyed this episode. Great. So, all right, we are sitting down to talk, and I'm really excited about that. So, Tricia, I like to outline like a little bit of like how we started talking to give
Mhm.
context to people so they jump in that flow in one way if they haven't sort of been able to put together. I mean, some people, you
Right.
can kind of guess because we share our interest in working with airway patients, people who need help with breathing, but also just, you being an established person in, the airway field, myofunctional therapy, as well as speech, correct? Speech language
Right.
therapy.
Right.
Um, you've been in that field for a while. Me too, not that long, just under 9 years in that field, although I've been a chiropractor for 17 years.
Right.
Um, but you know, actually, the best context for that is you have that title, you have all the experience, yet I'm really excited to talk about the creative process with you,
Mhm.
um, because of the book and this, the work that you're in the middle of creating. You've already
Mhm.
created Miss Tongue and Friends, and you've already done other collaborative projects. You have a character named Mr. Nose, and then, oh, I want to talk about so much more. But
Yeah, yeah.
authoring those books, the creative process, how that intermingles with the work that you do with your clients slash patients. I'm excited to dive into all that. So I've really appreciated our conversations and how I've already been inspired by seeing your work and just in the thought process that I'm on in the middle of creating some things too. So first of all,
Uh,
thank you for that. But I'm also really excited that we get to share our dialogue today with everybody listening.
Oh, well, thank you. I know. And when you reached out to me on Instagram and your message, it just made me feel like that these books are reaching people that, and they're seeing, uh, what I put, my labor of love into it. People are like, yes, these are good. I want to know more, want to talk to, like, I love that you just reached out and wanted to talk to me just because you saw the books. Yeah, I really do. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here to talk with you.
Yeah. And I kind of like it's hard to pick a place to start because I want to go right to the middle of our conversation about the floor of the mouth and how I'm talking about all the personifications that I've seen with this
Right.
area and how that so relates to what you've created and the characters
Right.
that you've created. But kind of before I talk about any of my um, inspirations, I listened to your podcast interview with Brittany
Yes. Yeah.
Murphy on her I
Yeah.
Spy with my Myo I podcast. I've
Right.
loved that podcast. I've been on her podcast and then I've interviewed her
Yes.
um and she's a punster, just right there with the title of that. So
Yes.
I really
Yes.
like it's a great pairing with you two. Um,
Right.
I loved how you were describing in that interview how you created I think it had to do with like pre and post tongue tie release
Mm,
procedures, but you had this poem about the
yes.
dance and
Yes.
how that the really the dance describes how the tongue can move in Miss Tongue. Could you
Mhm.
go into that more? And I want to hear, like maybe just for us,
Yeah.
tell us more about the poem or the words, and then kind of how just your creation of that. I would love.
Oh, this you so I love this. Thank you. Yes. So the Miss Tongue Learns to Dance is the one that, and here's a picture of that one just
Oh,
for,
great.
yeah. Okay. So that's the one where this poem hit me. And talking about inspiration, it's like, I had the first 3 books, which we'll talk about it in a little bit. And then this one, after I wrote all the others, I was in the process of doing the illustration piece and matching it and getting the words just right. Because you get one chance with your book, right? For them to understand and grasp what you're trying to make. Uh, it was like I sat down and this poem came out of me. Like it was in rhyme. It was 10 minutes and the thing was
Mm,
out there. And it was like I couldn't write it fast enough that it was coming through my brain. And because the process of after you've before and after having a tongue tie, we both know that there needs to be um range of motion with the tongue and body work that needs to be done, and trying to get that to where the kids can do the work that they're supposed to do, even though at times it needs to be individualized. There are definitely things that are foundational, and that
yeah.
the parents can get the kids to do it. This is like, after 20 years of assessing and treating myofunctional disorders, I know how difficult it is for the carryover to happen and how important it is to prepare someone for a frenectomy, lingual frenectomy. And so I made the tongue movements into a part of or a dance move in the book. And then, honest to goodness, my husband had done all the vectoring of my illustrations and he just did the graphics for it. And it's like fun, it's hilarious, it's like engaging in a different way than the concepts in the oral health bundle books are. The Miss Tongue Learns to Rest, the Mr. Nose Learns to Breathe, and the Lips Learn to Stay Together. So, and I've even had like it can also be like used for jaw and tongue disassociation in treatment or in anything. But I guess I don't the one that it gets a lot, I'll show you the picture, that gets a lot of interesting feedback. This is the lingual palatal suction. And so, there's Miss Tongue like pulling, holding up on the lips to like do this really, oh, sorry,
Yeah.
palatal suction. And in this book, each of them have like music around there because it's part of her dance moves. Each little one is a dance move. So I wanted to make it fun instead of like a, oh my goodness, I've got to get my kiddo to like stick his tongue out like a lizard. Okay, yeah, that's fun. But what if they can see it and read about it in a book and then see the helper that does it, that does the release, and how she goes from being stuck like bubblegum on a shoe to being free to dance? His
Yeah,
tongue does.
I love that. It's such a good imagery, and I feel like that's what we need, I think you said this on Brittany's podcast, but it's like your husband being marketer was like, "Who is this for?" And you're like, "It's for everybody." And you don't say that to somebody, you don't say that to somebody who's savvy with marketing,
No,
but at the same time, it is, right? And it's like
right,
all adults, parents who are hanging out with kids, I'm gonna say
right.
potty, even though I used to think that was weird,
Yeah,
right? Because it's just what you say now. So I
yeah,
think it's so good for like adults who need more childlikeness that I love thinking about these characters
yeah.
because I don't know if you know this, but I started this podcast and the phrase compromised to alchemized came from how can we go from a compromised airway to an alchemized airway? And I just know that for me, there's so many people, and I love what you've done from a very foundational principle in solid practices, pre and post op, and all of these things. And I think in our field, we have that, but then we just need more fun and we need more color. And, stretching this and all these do task things,
Mhm.
it's like, there's enough of that, but
Yep.
I really think that we need more color and fun and creativity because who doesn't want more of that?
Right,
And who isn't going to be more inclined to like really follow through with things when it can have those elements of joy and fun.
right,
And, some people won't because
right.
they might be like, "No, I just need something black and white." But I'm like, "Yeah, really, who? Who would
Yeah,
prefer that?" So I love that
right,
your resources, like, I think they fulfill a need of in our field. Also, it can be like, oh, it's a heavy thing when we're all not breathing well and there's all this worry or wide scale concern about the nature and the state of our, health in this world.
right,
But
right.
if we contemplate too much on that, it's never going to be helpful. So I feel like if we ruminate on joy and ruminate on like fun, creative ways to do things, like who wouldn't benefit from learning from Miss Tongue and like anybody with a mouth, anybody with a nose, anybody with a tongue could like really have a healthier life if they learn these. So I think that's like a great way that, you've
Yes,
been able to share your gifts is like bringing that to people when, we just, can get stuck on these workouts. So I really love
right,
that it's like a dance versus a workout.
right, right, right. And and to like to say that like I got asked to do a consult with this 84-year-old man. And it there's a lot going on, as you can imagine, with his breathing and talking about nasal breathing. And I'm like, look, I was like, hey, I got pulled out of like direct patient care retirement to have some fun with you. This is what I've been doing while I've been not doing as much direct patient care. It's like, do you want to see? And he's like, I was like, this is like Mr. Nosler to breathe. We're working on nasal breathing for you. This is what it is. And he's like, oh, he's like, well, let me see the other one. And he's like, I want to see this one. I want to see that one. And I'm like, this is great. This is great. Not only are the kids, when I'm showing them to the kids, loving this, but he's like, what? Oh, and laughing. Like, he's like, "What about the nasal breathing?" He's like, well, he made a joke about how he's doing it backwards, but he said it in a really funny like way of like, oh, backwards. And I'm like, yep, you are. And Mr. Nose can teach you how to do it the right way. And he was just like, okay. So it's like, might as well have joy all along in your life when you can.
Yeah, I love it. And that's actually really good because I'm, I think I was curious about this very thing. Like, kind of how has that the creative process of writing, creating these 4 books, right?
Yeah, I actually have 4 books that are in print and
Uh-huh.
1 extra one that's just in ebook form that's gonna have a set with it. It's like but yes, the 4 to 5 books right now, and there's a few more waiting to be illustrated.
Yeah, you sound like you're well, you just sound like you're so like, so creative, and now you can't stop this from just continuing to
No,
unfold.
no, no, because I keep
Uh,
getting ideas. And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I can do that in this Miss Tongue and Friends format, in this Miss Tongue and Friends series." It's like, yes, right.
well, I don't I kind of I love not getting stuck on a question I was gonna ask, so I'm not gonna get stuck on that question I was gonna ask. Where do these ideas come from? Yes, your clinical experience. Yes, all the cases. So you could say all of those instances, but where do you feel this spark of creativity came from? Did you know from early on you were gonna create and write? Um, or like what could you say about that?
So I have always, as far back in that as I can remember, wanted to write a book.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know, but I've always wanted to write a book. I love to read, I love books. And so I was like, that's always been in the back of my mind or something that was gonna, I don't know, wanted to do. When I came up with this idea that of the characters and teaching my patients how to rest their tongue and breathe through their nose and keeps their lips closed. Um, like characters doing that instead of them having to feel like that they have something wrong. Like it's like, well, let's get your lips to do this. I was always talking to my patients, let's get your brain to tell your tongue to do this, like to take it off of the stress that they are doing something wrong or something's wrong with their bodies, right? It's not, it's just we're going to make a change. And how do I make you uh, like feel wanting to do that. And so that was always like my, besides building rapport with the kids, that was always my other way to relate to them. And so I would draw out these before I did, I had them in drawings and I would let the kids take it home and color them. So, just Miss Tongue and draw their own Miss Tongue and their own Mr. Nose because I can't draw, but and I always got laughed at my drawings as a therapist, but the kids can because they know what it represents when they draw it themselves. So we would kind of make these little books together. And I started with the little ones and then I some of the older kids, they were like, oh, when talking about nasal breathing, we brought the lungs in and the turbinates and the mucosal membranes and all that because they were like the boys were like wanting to be a little more scientific about it. So it mostly started with that. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, here we go. It's time. And I was just, it was a laborious process to write these books. It truly was. But there was this drive, this pull that I can't even explain that these books had to be out there in the world. Like just there is no and so dealing with the technology, finding the illustrator, just like I've never written a book. Like the edit. Is this ever going to be done? Kind of thing. But and life would happen, and I would have to go back to it. I'd stop but it was just like this had to happen.
Well, I love
I,
it, and I mean, this feels um, like who else was destined to write this? I mean, it's you, and can you believe that you are the person who wrote this book
no.
and that before you, nobody wrote it, and clearly after you, if anybody writes it, it'll be as paying homage to you.
Mhm,
That's
mhm.
wild, right? That's amazing.
It,
So
it's
congratulations on
yes.
following the drive and letting this work come through you. Um, because I just have I know I have more people coming to mind of like, ooh, that little girl getting ready for her release. Her mom would love this book. I need to send that. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm just excited for more people to get your poetic, playful help with this journey that can be so stressful, and
Right.
you said it, and I'll say it again, is with, to go from compromise to alchemize, it's not a linear, oh, you just do this and this and you get that. It's like, no
No.
way, from these kinds of patients, these kinds of families,
Yeah.
it's a lot when you have one, two, three kids, or we do,
Yes.
and you're
Yeah.
trying to help them, and they have to manage that in their time and energy. And then, yes, it often is like they're helped through these things, but it's not easy and it's not
No.
always perfect. So it's like, you know, it might not be a perfect outcome because there's too many variables in this
Mhm.
field and world.
Mhm.
But can we find ways to make it fueling and nourishing and
Right.
fulfilling? Because at least then we've got a way that we can, share that part of life, which is like, hey, nobody's going to be perfect, but we can be fulfilled and have fun. And so, um, yeah. And I mean, yeah. So the ideas that came, I love that it came like through your times with these, kids, and then you wrote books together. I mean, that
Yeah.
phrase is so cool
Yes.
of like
Yes.
you wrote books together, and it's like, how many books did you write together? And it's like, I have some parallels in my life with my practice where I'm like, we made those together. And now today I'm making something that came out of those one-to-one makings. So
Makings with the kids or
yeah.
the patients. I know, and then there's no better, like, testing or field testing or whatever than to use them in your own practice for years where the families are stressed. They know how important it is to have their children go through myofunctional therapy and do what they need to do, and they are stressed about wanting to do it, needing to do it for their child, and then the kids are like, well, like, why do I need to do this? I don't understand. And so that was part of the books. And then that part where the kiddos are so young and they can't cognitively do the traditional myofunctional therapy. How, and I was bound and determined to reach these kiddos before, as soon as possible. And so, what better way than to start with like little characters in a picture book, right? Because it's like that gap of the 0 to 5 year olds, the 0 to 4 year
Yeah.
olds. And it honest to goodness was a 3 or 4 year old that a chaotic therapy session I keep talking about that made Mr. the character come to life. It was like a therapy going bad, like going nowhere good session. And then it just happened and then it was magic.
So that's like the, oh, such a beautiful thing. Like out of that like struggle,
Mhm.
difficulty, like it's kind of like I mean, I know you already had this creativity coming in, but it is like, yeah, a problem and a struggle provoked you to make the thing
Mhm.
that you
Right,
knew would not only be good for that
right,
instance, but how many others that you've.
right.
So did you kind of like think about other times before and then future times that you didn't want for that to happen?
Yes, yes, because when this first as a therapist, one of the as a myofunctional therapist or a physical therapist or a speech therapist or any body workers, like, you know, motivating your clients too, depending upon it doesn't, and they could be motivated, but their life is so crazy and they can't do it. And it's like the struggle of the pressure as a therapist of knowing how important this is for this child or for this parent to help this child do this. The pressure in private practice of that also helped me create these because I know how, like, it was me solo private practice, right? I know. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is a fun, engaging way that, especially with the ebooks now, the parents can buy them, the kids can flip through and read it at home, every night before, they're having a frenectomy done, or they can read it afterwards when okay, their tongue is now loose. Now, what does Miss Tongue need to do? She needs to rest at lingual palatal section, right? oh, and now Mr. Nose can work better because, and it's just like, and honestly, it was Miss Tongue learns to rest, but then that wasn't enough. The world wasn't ready. My brother has a production company, and we talked with one of his partners, and they were like, there's more. There definitely is more to this. And so I came out of that meeting. I was like, okay, honey, the world isn't ready for Mr. Tongue because it was Mr. Tongue at the time. I was like, it has to be the whole thing. The lips together, the nose breathing, and the tongue resting. So that's when they changed the characters changed a little bit because I needed to have everyone
Got it.
have
Okay.
their own, special personification.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, I love that because it's it's clearly like a work of art. And but now I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get these books so I have them for my own reference, so I can show them to the families that just
Right.
even this morning with a 6-year-old and her parents that came in for the first time. And yeah, I mean, oh, it's like you just know, especially I have kids too, and I have a 9 year old, a 6-year old who's turning 7 in 3 days,
Yes.
and then a 4-year-old.
Yes.
And they know me, we're comfortable, but with other kids when they come in, I'm like, what would my son Cypress really love in this moment? How would he, if he's feeling timid or nervous, how would he? And so I like to be silly. I play
Mhm.
games, and but sometimes the books are such a good way. So then I'll just flip to something else. Well, just know that yeah, we're gonna be absolutely need all the. I'll have my team put all the show notes where they have all the links to your books and the titles so people can get these. And I just think it's also good for me to reiterate. Um, with my work too, some people are like, "Is what you're doing applicable even if I'm not going to get a tongue tie release, or I don't know if I have a tongue tie, or," and I know you are well versed in talking about this, but just in case those are tuning in that wonder, yeah, this is like if you have a tongue, if you have a mouth, if you have lips, you have a nose, then Tricia's books, the Miss Tongue series, is like it's just a great way to acquaint yourselves and your children with these parts of the body
Mhm.
that are really great, just even if you have personifications, but you
Mhm.
add to that all the knowledge you have about these areas,
Right.
and
Right.
that's infused within your work. So great
Yes.
for it's like really phenomenal for anybody.
Yes. And each of the book, the characters in the books will like make appearances. And so like Miss Tongue and the lips are in the Mr. Nose book and the, nose. Because if a child is a mouth breather, that means two things. If they breathe through their mouth, even if they don't have a tongue tie, if it's because they were have an allergy or they were thumb suckers in the past or whatever, open mouth posture, tongue is down in the mouth, nose is not breathing. All three of the books are beneficial because it talks about top lip and bottom lip staying together. That's one of them. Then Mr. Nose, because that's happening, Mr. Nose can breathe. And because the lips are together, now Miss Tongue can rest, which also helps with nasal breathing, which helps with, some with clearer speech in some children, right? With the tongue is starting at the place against the palate where the consonants are made, touching the palate. So it's easier, clearer speech in cases with OMDs. So it's like it's all, and then no matter what, nasal breathing is much healthier for everyone, kids, especially developing children. And knowing that that there's mouth breathing it's getting more understood out there how to see it and notice it, but it's so commonplace that we don't even think about it sometimes.
Yeah.
And like my motto, one breath, one book, one child at a time.
I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, maybe I have a couple questions that are just coming. One, I was reminded of the question I was going to ask you before I jumped to a different one. But then a broader one. one I like to ask, which is, and I know, my question comes from The Alchemist,
Mm,
the book, which
mhm.
is, one of the inspirations for this podcast title,
Right.
turning lead into gold. That's the mystic
Mhm,
art of alchemy. But it's more um, when we're burdened and when we become shiny and healthy, that process, um, not easy, but often in those moments where a family or a person has like this spark of who they are, that'll always lead us through. Meaning, like, if you know your purpose and you know your gifts and you know
mm,
what you are to do in this world, it'll not only make you do those things that you're called to do, but for you, you have this drive, and
mhm,
from that drive, you created the books. But a lot of people won't take the drive, and it doesn't turn into the books all the time, right? So,
mhm,
but the broader question is, in the story of the alchemist, the old king asked Santiago the shepherd, where he tells them when the universe will conspire in your favor when you
mm,
are pursuing your personal legend.
mm,
Personal legend is very creatively defined in the book. I've definitely felt it's very clear that it's talking about your destiny, your
mm,
calling. But
mhm,
I've done a whole podcast that I haven't published yet on defining that in way more detail, which is, as a legend on a map will show you where, like, the distance between one place to the next. It's like a key, right? For
mhm,
looking at a
mhm.
map. If
Yeah.
the map is your life and the legend is your legend,
Uh-huh.
you have both what you will accomplish and how you will get from point A to Z, and how far that is, and the stops along the way. But how do you know? Like, how do you keep yourself on track? But the first question is, what is your personal legend? And then,
Mm.
what's your destiny? What's your calling? What are you called to do? And I know you're sharing from what that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but then also, like, how do you in your life keep on track with that? What keeps you tuned in to continually pursue these things that your
Mm,
drive shows you?
mm. Great. Those are great. So I think I know one of my things is a legend. It's like helping people. Like like you don't go into being a therapist type of profession if that's not what you want to do. I love people. I love helping people. I love semantics is very big for me. And so like and interesting enough, like my mama wrote in my baby book that I was going to be a speech therapist. She said she has never mispronounced a word. And so she's like, she's never done that. And she didn't write that in there, but she knew that this is what I was going to be, something to do with that, because I just came out talking and it all sounded perfectly fine, just like not my siblings. Right. And, but, and to make people feel important and good about themselves. That is one of my callings. And, you know, children, like most of my work has been with children, but also like it's been with adults, but in general, and I get energy from helping people. And at the point when, in my practice, it was always like, do I expand? Do I not? And I never wanted to expand my private practice outside of myself. I tried a couple times, but then it's like, because it's not me and it's not, and then it just like with the big pandemic shift, I got things that fell in my lap about how I'm supposed to help more than just one individual at a time. And never, ever did I expect I would do presenting or anything that was not in my little insular private practice world. Never did I think I would be on a podcast, that I would be talk, because that just wasn't me, but actually it is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because how are people going to know about these books and how are they going to help the kids unless I'm out there talking about it? And how am I going to help the kids unless I find a way that even in the book format or ebook format builds rapport with them? Because you're not going to get anywhere as a therapist. Or my point is, like, you get so much further as a therapist or someone helping when you build rapport. So I don't know if that
Yeah,
technically answers the
great.
question or
Yeah, thank you. No, no, yeah, really good. And I mean, a lot of wisdom in there, and this is like that look into what compels you, and then I would add the question of like, how do you know or what keeps you tuned into that? Like, what
Mm,
are there practices, or
mm,
is it just a knowing, or how do you when you look at your life and you look at what's taken you to this point,
mm,
um what would you say is like, how do you know you're continuing on, and do you have time of reflection? Do you
mm, mm,
just
mhm.
there's various ways some people might have like the goals, or even some people might have New Year's lists,
Uh-huh. Mhm,
resolutions,
mhm.
um, or
Yeah,
anything like that that gives you anything. It doesn't have to be anything, but just in case you do have something like
yeah. My intuition is something I rely on a lot. And
that. Yeah.
so in order to do that and listen to that, I have to make time and take time to listen to it or allow it to talk to me.
Yeah.
And the times when I do is much, much better in all ways of, like, joy and uh, things going in the right direction when I listen to it. Um, um, that's a big thing with me. So I have to take time to be listening to that. I'm also a just like I'm very I think about things a lot and then I make a decision and I don't go backwards. I just like
Mm.
move. So it's like that intuitive, I'm a big researcher and then I'll make a decision and then that's it. Like my husband even knows is like, whoa, she's made a decision. This is what's happening, right? It's like, so, and if I mean, of course, if there are a lot of, if my intuition tells me to change the decision or whatever, or there's things that make it impossible that are truly not, it's not supposed to happen, right? But it's like I'm like decisive once I figure things out. And I will keep at it till it works.
Yeah, love that. Well, yeah, I'm thinking of well, I told you, was it I think I told you before we started recording that I had a dream last night of just about my book On the Floor of the Mouth, and it was,
Mhm.
one of those that I didn't go to sleep like thinking about it. Although I will say that it's always going to come on the floor of the mouth when it is my life work for like the
Right.
last 9 years that I've been focusing on
Right.
this area. So inevitably, it's like constantly running in the subconscious routine of my mind. But it was like a very vivid, multifaceted dream. But um, and then that leads back to like our conversation. We were messaging each other, I think, yeah, like because I was teaching my floor of the mouth training in Boise, Idaho,
Right. Right.
and um, there's several things happened in a row, and we talked, and I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to talk more again." I'm just reinvigorated, re-inspired, um, by your work and by what I know I'm working on, and about, just these thoughts of personifying the floor of the mouth. And
Mhm,
so I got on
mhm.
the plane and I started journaling, and I wrote down every floor that's been significant to me in my life. And
Awesome.
I have like 50 floors that I wrote down. And then I
Mhm,
thought,
mhm.
wow, the floor and babies being, our babies being born and other things. But I know I mentioned to you how I loved the idea of like how Miss Tongue learns to dance. and how the floor is like a dance floor,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
how the floor I have a history in dance, as I've
mhm,
mentioned,
mhm.
interpretive, movement, interpretive dance, and, um, dancing on many surfaces, you can feel how you have to move differently according to the surface beneath you. I mean,
Yes,
and a lot of us know that, and a lot of us intuitively will do that anyways. But if you're on concrete or rocks, you're gonna move a lot more carefully than on a bed of grass, on like
right.
a porous wooden floor even, or a spongy gym floor, if you're on a trampoline or if you're in, whatever, you're gonna, you spongy floor, you just you just kind of move without much thought to
Mm.
how you're gonna necessarily be affected by the floor beneath you. But this just made me think of so much. So that sentence is like me in the middle of so many thoughts um, about what I'm doing with my work with the floor of the mouth and how I want the world to understand the floor of the
Mhm,
mouth in a
mhm.
much more vibrant way than what. And you as a speech language therapist, myofunctional therapist, I'm in Santa Barbara Mayo's office, Nicole Cancello, and I have a room in her office, and you all are some of the world experts in the floor of the mouth. So whenever I talk about the floor, I need to just it's for me. I'm always thinking, thank God for you because like you all know and you have worked with this area, and I defer to you all as ones who have been working with this. In fact, your field grew out of the need to become to have experts who navigated the orofacial complex. So
Right.
when my daughter was born with a tongue tie 9 years ago, and I won't go into the full story because anybody who's listened to this has heard it. My podcast has heard it, or other podcasts that I've been on, but nothing like a struggle in seeing your daughter not be able to breastfeed and seeing my wife struggle
Right.
that made me need to know more about this area. And then I started to see connections. And anyways, I know I'm presenting to the world things that aren't known yet in
Mhm.
the world of the floor of the mouth. Um, but yeah, when I was messaging back and forth and it provoked me to write that journal entry, I thought, ooh, I can't wait to tell you more about that because
Yeah.
I
Yes.
just know you're gonna appreciate it as somebody who's created. Um, and then there's the actual content, which is w- we're in the same vicinity here of talking about this multifaceted complex, the oral facial
Right.
complex. So
Right.
I kind of want to maybe I'll like come to an end of that statement and then ask you a question related to it. Um, but I'm exploring so many things with that, and in fact, one more thing I'll say is that when I studied at the Tamalpa Institute, which is in the Bay Area in California, and I attended a workshop just a year after my daughter was born when we had journeyed through. She had a tongue tie release, much better. She was
Yes.
doing worlds better. All of that
Yes.
was so much better. So I stumbled across this workshop and I went to this dance workshop at the Tamalpa Institute in San Rafael, Kentwood, and a historic figure in dance, Anna Halprin, ran that school. And it's called the Life Art Process, where they teach people how to engage with dance, but also psychology. And
Oh,
I have
cool.
a movement practice that I created that's very akin to that. And I created it before I even knew that this place existed. But when went to do this workshop and I learned from this teacher, Rosario Sammartino, um, it was life changing for me. Um, it was soon after we talked, and I did the journal entry that even that she followed me on Instagram, and then we reconnected, and now I'll be talking with her for the podcast soon.
Yay! Oh, that's
So
great.
I feel like the cathartic creative process is such a pivotal part of my life that without creativity, without the arts, without
Mhm.
expression, bodywork wouldn't be vibrant, alive. For me, I infuse my practice with these things, and it's kind of like you made books with kids. It's like not that's not common. So
No,
you
no.
clearly were infusing your practice with your creativity. So, um, I mean, that's just like first of all, a really cool thing to kind of be able to look at. And then, um, yeah, I mean, I would love to just say, if you go back to like when you were creating these books, and then you created it and you created them, and then I know you had that coming out of retirement appointment with this 84-year-old. And the question I had is, how did your creative process of creating and manifesting these books influence you in how you now relate to people? And I guess especially with him, but any
Yes.
others that you've come across where now you're like, wow, I have a work of art
Mhm.
that sums up so much of what I was saying. But how did that creative process of creating in the works themselves, sort of influence now? How does that come into your mind when you're interacting with people?
That's such a great question because it's like I'm mentoring other speech pathologists right now. I have went in to do a evaluation with a consult in one of the schools, and the little girl was like nervous, and she, what are you doing here, and I had the books there, and she like looked at them. She wanted to read it, then she saw I was a writer, the author, and then she was like very interested. And it's like I can't see, I can't unsee. It's sort of like myofunctional therapy. When
Yeah,
you see, you cannot unsee.
you can't
What?
unsee.
No, I cannot unsee how effective these books are with all of the kiddos that I'm mentoring. Even like I said with the 84-year-old man, it's like I can't unsee a opportunity to pull out the pictures or pull out the book or show this or just make a kind of heavy situation kind of more light or fun, or I'm trying to describe something, I can show it with what my tongue is doing, but also I can pull up the like screen and show what Miss Tongue is doing. And so it's like I can't unsee the value and where these books are needed. I just like it's like, well, and I can't unsee the drive to do the others that are already in my head. I can't stop that from happening. And I'm like, but what's hard for me right now is finding the time where I can get into that creative mode. And that's I just met with a mentor before we were coming on, and they helped me structure out how to do my days, that in a way that I haven't thought about it, or my weeks really in a way that I haven't thought about it, because I just I want to help the families, I want to help the therapists, I want to help the kids. And this is how I'm doing it now. And it's like it's making me want to like I'm reading to daycares. I'm reading to anybody. I'll take them to the daycares, I'll take them to preschools, anyone that will allow me to come in and let me read my books, I'm doing it. And that's been fun too. It's like schools in town and what, yeah. And so
I love that. That's really cool.
yeah,
Um,
I'm obsessed. My passion of oral health and breathing is so huge. And now I'm just obsessed with how I can help many, 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 many people.
yeah, continuing to find more ways to like, both corral your passion, but your passion is really, in one way, it's like, I love the phrases that you said about helping these people. And it's like your passion is really, for the benefit of people to heal.
Mhm,
Um, and yes, it is you who has that passion, but it's an altruistic, passion to want to see these precious people
mhm,
live healthier lives. So, in one way, that's like um, like your love of seeing people do well and thriving compels you to keep doing it in multiple ways, and now at a way that's got you becoming a storyteller, right? And it's
right.
like you're a storyteller, and literally you're, you know, taking your book and reading it, and I love that. I mean, You do you have I would love I mean, it feels like you need videos of, like, you
Yes.
going, and, I mean, people obviously love that you're there, so
Yes, yes, I know. I need to get some of these. Yeah, I need to get some of these and put them out there because it's like it's hard to. Yeah, it's something that I need to do, and I
well,
think in the next, when school gets back into,
yeah,
session, I'm gonna do this and then just have the camera on me because don't want the kids to be seen on,
sure.
you know,
Yeah,
but you can hear them, which is fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you wanna tell would you mind or you don't have to share about this, but I if you, can allude to the other books that are in the works or at least the general
Yes.
idea?
Yes. Okay, so there is a one that's out there already in ebook form that's Miss Tongue's Resting Adventures. So it's like showing Miss Tongue resting while she's doing activities. And so that's what, so there's a nose one. Mr. Nose uses his secret superpowers coming. And then there's the one with the lips practicing staying together during activities. Just kind of like the carryover thing. Okay, we got the concept. Oh, then the kids like, oh, well, if Miss Tongue can do it during this activity, why don't I do it in this activity in my life? And that's the premise of those for the carryover in like habituation, right? The one that I am very passionate about oral habits and how they affect children and their breathing, their oral facial growth and development. So there is a one of Miss Tongue's friends is Miss and the Lips friends, obviously, is Mr. Thumb the Thumb, not Mr. Thumb, it's the Thumb, um, because that affects healthy oral breathing. They may be able to be breathing through their nose, but when the thumb's out, their mouth is open, the tongue is down, and they're breathing through the mouth most of the time. So, yeah, and stopping thumb sucking and is important. Pacifiers, that kind of thing. So that's in the works, and then an older version of the Mr. Nose, the Miss Tongue learns to rest, the Mr. Nose learns to breathe, and um, the lips learn to stay together to get the school age kids. So that's in the works too. That's going to take I think, a different for platform. I think based on something else I'm doing with my orthodontic friend. But yeah, so and there's something coming out there about structure and function, combining that. But yeah, that's what's in the future. I got to get it all edited out so the illustrator can get on it.
Well, yeah, that's exciting. So I'll be looking to well, yeah, just kind of get I'll have to get some of your books and then just um think about too. I'm inspired, so I'm taking in the wisdom even from hearing about your creative process and what you've created and what I can do. And I've created the movement practice that the intuitive movement practice that I've traveled and taught in many places and my floor of the mouth work and
Mhm,
I have a lot of things that I've created. Um, and in those processes, I can draw from that,
mhm.
like coming up with ideas and then realizing, oh, I've said that how many times? So I've already created the idea. Now I just need to have it come through. But in the world of creating, my wife has written a book and she's got an ebook. So I've drawn inspiration from her
Mhm.
and then others. But um, yeah, but I'm really appreciating the wisdom and the like sparks of inspiration I'm getting from
Good.
you just living your personal legend
Mm.
and pursuing these, in just letting these works come through you in a way that is unmistakable that it would be you. So that is, as history reveals, Tricia Rogers was the one who created Miss Tongue and Friends. So pretty epic, pretty cool.
Wow, thank you.
Um, well, yeah, I know that probably in the next few minutes here we'll be concluding. So I want to make sure um, those show notes will have everything, but what's the best way for people to reach out to you and, kind of if they have questions or they're just inspired as well, what's the best way for people
Yeah.
to reach out to you?
So I'm on Instagram at Miss Tongue and Friends. I also have a website, misstongueandfriends.com. And I on there is an email address to get to me on my website. And um on Instagram, I'm also like just Tricia SLP. There's one, but I'm mostly focusing on the Miss Tongue and Friends one. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as well. Um, Currently, YouTube is coming. Some other avenues are coming, but yeah. So and I love mentoring and answering questions and helping. Even that part of still getting that one-on-one love that I had as doing a lot more of that in my life. Uh, Through Facebook groups and answering questions or mentoring SLPs that are like, I love when they are like, oh, OMD, that's a little bit too scary for me. And then we just start working through the process and they're like, oh my gosh, I have the skills for this. I can do this. I just need help seeing it. And once they see it, they can't unsee it, like we said before. And it's like, and I love that part. Um, and presenting, I got some coming up in the fall of that. So, mhm.
Good. And then um if you have, so I kind of like loved to get more of the creative process, and but inevitably you're sharing clinical pearls as well, and
Mhm.
that's always good. So but for the creatives out there, for the ones
Yes,
who are for the dreamers and the makers, or
yes.
the prophets and the seers. That's from some T-shirt. That's a phrase that I saw. I love it. But um, what would you tell them if they're like if they're either like a person who's already created a lot and then they've got writer's block, or
Mm, yes.
or they haven't yet come up with, they've struggled and they want to just they they just, you to speak to the creatives out there, the artists, the makers, the musicians, and
Yeah,
we're speaking to everybody, but those people in a process, like,
yeah.
uh what inspiration can you give them to continue their journey?
Wow, that's a great that's I think that I think it's hard. There are the 2 things I think that are the hardest about the creative is, like, going through the process of creating and then putting yourself out there. And so I think that, putting your product, your creation or whatever out there is. But I think if you have a love for and a passion for what you're doing, it's going to be and knowledge, a knowledge base in it's going to be something that someone else is going to appreciate. I cannot say how many times I have had people thank me for making these books and going through it and actually doing it. Something I never expected that I would hear. Like a thank you for doing this is nothing I expected. It's kind of like when you're in a seminar and you really want to ask a question, but you're afraid to do it because you don't want to seem silly or stupid. I am the one that will ask the question because I have in the back of my mind, if I want to know about this, someone else does too, at least one other person in the room. So if you have something that you have been wanting to do and create and you feel passionate about it, there are people that are going to want what you've created. And so just keep at it. And life will like you on a side turn or many times over the 4-year process it took me to do this. But just keep at it. Just keep going because someone out there is going to benefit from it and find joy in it. And it will inspire someone else to do what they've always wanted to do. Take the risk. And it's a big risk in so many ways, but take it because you'll be so thankful. And as will other people, evidently.
That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Trisha. Hang on for a minute after we finish, but thanks for sharing. Thanks for
Yep.
taking precious time when I know you have so much stirring creatively that we would be able to have this conversation. I know it's been really good for me, and then I'm excited for those people that are gonna. I just had somebody reach out and said she's binging my podcast, and I'm like, well, because I have amazing people like Trisha, so I'm like, I can't wait to see what she thinks about
Oh,
yours, and
no.
just really thankful to have this time with you. So thank you for speaking, for sharing, and for opening up that world of your creative process.
And thank you for having me here and having time with you and the support and the joy that this brings you for talking about this with me and for having me. And I look forward to the conversations we're going to keep having.
Yes, I look forward to that. So yeah, whew, excited. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. Follow Trisha with Miss Tongue and Friends and reach out about the mentorship opportunities. And then just find a daycare where she's telling a story and jump in. Uh, and yeah, everybody just continue listening to Compromise to Alchemize so that we can continue unlocking creativity and answers and turning lead into gold left and right. In these conversations, we do deep dives, and resources are aplenty. So please tune in and enjoy. And I'm so excited to have you along for the journey.